They were told, "You don't belong here." Two black sisters, one a tech prodigy, the other a rising medical researcher, stood humiliated on the tarmac of a luxury jet terminal, denied boarding despite confirmed tickets. Security closed in. No explanation, no apology, just cold stares and whispers of image standards. But what the airline didn't know was that these women weren't just passengers. They were connected to a power that could collapse the entire company. And when the truth came out about their father, the real owner behind the scenes, the system that shamed them would soon kneel. This isn't just about racism. It's about reckoning. The California sun was unforgiving that morning, bouncing off the sleek white surfaces of EtherJet's private terminal in San Francisco like it was trying to blind the truth. Camille Morgan adjusted her sunglasses, but her sister Sierra had already stopped walking, frozen, staring ahead in disbelief. "Are they serious?" Sierra's voice cracked. Camille didn't answer. Her gaze followed the commotion at the check-in desk. A uniformed receptionist had stopped typing the moment she saw them. The woman glanced up, offered a tight, forced smile, then quickly looked away as she picked up the phone. Camille recognized that look. She'd seen it in boardrooms, in elevators, even in coffee shops. The look that said, "You shouldn't be here." They walked forward anyway, heads high, heels clicking against the polished tile, designer luggage trailing behind them like silent witnesses. "Camille and Sierra Morgan," Camille said, calm but firm. "We're confirmed on the 9:40 flight to Los Angeles, Charter 9A. The receptionist's eyes flicked across the screen. Her voice trembled slightly. "Just a moment, please." She turned away and whispered into the receiver. "They're here. Yes, both of them." Sierra frowned. "Both of them?" Before Camille could reply, a tall woman in a navy blue blazer strode in from the adjacent corridor. Her ID badge read Paige Whitman, Director of Client Standards. She didn't smile. Her eyes scanned the sisters like a customs officer inspecting contraband. "Ladies," Paige said coolly, "I'm afraid there's been a complication with your membership verification. EtherJet is a private service that requires a certain level of credential validation before boarding." Camille calmly pulled out her phone, scrolled, and presented the confirmation email. "We paid the full membership fee 2 weeks ago, received this 3 days later. It clearly says, approved and confirmed." "Yes," Paige said, barely glancing at the screen. "But membership is subject to ongoing evaluation. There may have been a miscommunication." Sierra stepped forward, her voice sharper. "What kind of evaluation? We're both fully verified. You took our payment. What exactly changed?" A silence hung in the air, thick and awkward. Behind them, a line of other passengers began to form. Men in expensive watches, women in monochrome designer sets, almost all white. They were being ushered past without issue. Smiles, handshakes, laughter. Camille noticed the subtle shift in posture from the security guard at the wall. His hand now rested firmly on his belt. Another guard joined him. Paige's eyes didn't move, but her jaw clenched ever so slightly. "I'm going to have to ask you to step aside while we clarify the matter," she said, "for your privacy." "This isn't about privacy," Camille replied. "It's about discrimination, and I think you know that." More eyes turned toward them. A woman nearby whispered something to her husband. Someone else pulled out a phone. The energy in the room had shifted. Unease, discomfort, tension. Paige's smile grew colder. "EtherJet caters to a clientele that values discretion and exclusivity. We work hard to maintain that image." That was when she said it. "You don't fit the image of excellence." The words landed like a slap. Sharp, calculated, devastating. Sierra blinked, stunned. Camille didn't flinch. She reached slowly into her handbag and pulled out her phone again, this time hitting record. "I'm documenting this," she said, "so the world can see what this kind of excellence looks like." A voice crackled on Paige's radio. "Do you want us to proceed?" She nodded once. Moments later, Two airport police officers entered through the side doors, hands resting on holsters. One of them, a man named Officer Trent, addressed the sisters curtly. "Ladies, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. You're interfering with terminal operations." "We're not interfering," Sierra said, her voice shaking. "We're being denied boarding for no reason." "You've been flagged by the airline as non-compliant," he responded. "That's all we need." Camille turned the camera toward him. "Are you seriously escorting two paying passengers out, without any legal justification? Because this private company says so?" He didn't respond, just gestured toward the exit. "I'd rather not arrest anyone today," he added. The threat was implicit and effective. They stood still. Camille looked at Sierra. Sierra looked at Camille. In the distance, a flight crew began loading bags onto the very plane they were meant to be on. The same aircraft their credentials had supposedly secured. The same jet now carrying others who looked nothing like them, toward opportunity, partnership, prestige. The same privilege they had fought their entire lives to access was being ripped away in broad daylight. "I'm not going to give them a scene," Camille murmured. "Neither am I," Sierra whispered back. They gathered their luggage with quiet dignity. No shouting, no pleading. Just a long, steady walk back through the terminal, past the concierge desk, past the glossy luxury brand counters, past the stairs. Once outside, with the California heat pressing down, Camille stopped. She looked at the phone in her hand. The screen was still recording. Sierra watched her, waiting. But Camille didn't upload it. Not yet. "They'll spin it," she said finally. "Say we caused a disruption, that we were aggressive, angry, unstable." Sierra's shoulders sagged. "So what do we do?" Camille stared ahead at the road. Her face hardened. "We don't react," she said. "We plan." She saved the video, renamed it, backed it up to the cloud. Then she looked at her sister, the fire returning to her voice. "They wanted quiet? They're about to get a storm." Long before Camille stood on the tarmac of EtherJet's terminal, being told she didn't fit the image of excellence, she had already lived a life framed by that very accusation. Their childhood in Oakland wasn't the kind of hardship story that begged for sympathy, but it wasn't privilege either. Marcus Morgan, their father, worked long hours as a financial consultant, whatever that meant. He dressed in suits, traveled often, spoke in measured tones, and refused to answer personal questions about his work. Their mother passed when Sierra was only 6, and from that moment, Marcus raised his daughters with a kind of fierce intention that bordered on militant. "Excellence isn't optional," he used to say. "The world will not give you the benefit of the doubt. It will give you a test and expect you to fail. Your job is to shatter the expectation, without ever showing them it bothered you." Camille had taken that lesson to heart early. She wasn't the smartest kid in class, but she was the most relentless. By 12, she was teaching herself Python and dismantling security protocols on her school's outdated intranet just for fun. By 14, she'd won her first statewide STEM competition, beating students 2 years older. And yet, the compliments she received always came with an asterisk. "She's very articulate," one judge had said, in a tone that barely masked surprise. "Must be part of a diversity program," another whispered when she was awarded the tech scholarship. Sierra had her own war. In the pristine hallways of Stanford Medical School, she was a statistical anomaly, young, black, and female. Professors questioned her research design choices, ignored her in lab discussions, and subtly nudged her toward general practice, away from oncology. "You're passionate, Sierra," one advisor had said. "But maybe you're stretching too far with that mutation therapy proposal. Why not focus on something more manageable?" She proved them wrong, of course. Her work on targeted RNA sequences had landed her a publication in the Journal of Precision Medicine by age 22. Still, no matter how many doors they kicked open, the ceiling never moved. It just got more sophisticated, more polite, more coded. Camille remembered the day she received her rejection letter from MIT's graduate program. Her application was flawless. Top GPA, National Hackathon champion, impeccable references. But she was denied, with a generic note about competitive applicant pool. That night, she stared at her laptop for hours, fighting tears. Then, she did something reckless. She breached MIT's internal admissions review system, not to change her file, not to manipulate a result, but just to see. What she found broke her. Notes from one reviewer flagged her as an edge case. Another mentioned concerns about maturity and fit. But the one that hit hardest read, "May be a strong diversity candidate, but lacks the refinement for this program's culture." Refinement. That word followed her like a ghost. She didn't tell anyone what she'd done. Didn't even tell Sierra. She just walked away from the dream. Applied instead to Caltech, where she would later graduate top of her class and go on to launch Cypher Shield, her own cybersecurity firm. It was during the third pitch meeting with a VC firm, where a middle-aged white man told her, "This is surprisingly elegant for something you built yourself," that she decided she would never ask for approval again. Success, for them, had never been about talent. It had always been about translation. Could they make others comfortable with their presence? Could they soften themselves just enough to be seen as non-threatening, but not so much that they lost themselves? After the EtherJet incident, that calculation felt laughable. "We've been playing by the rules of a game designed to exclude us," Camille had told Sierra that night at the hotel. "I'm done negotiating for respect." Sierra had nodded, but quietly, her idealism still bruised. "I just want our work to speak for itself. My research could change lives. That should be enough." Camille didn't say what she was thinking. It never is. They both knew it. In the days that followed the rejection at EtherJet, Camille poured herself into gathering data. Metadata from booking systems, inconsistencies in confirmation protocols, even the architectural layout of the terminal. But beneath all of that, there was a nagging thought she couldn't silence. She had broken rules once before. When MIT shut its doors on her, she opened them herself, digitally. She never used what she found, never exposed it, but it had changed her. She had hacked a system once just to glimpse the bias behind the curtain. Was she willing to do it again? This time, not for herself, but for everyone else still standing at those doors? That night, while Sierra slept, Camille opened her laptop and accessed a secure channel, a server she hadn't touched in years. It was anonymous, encrypted, and connected to an old AI-driven crawler she'd built in college. Its purpose? To scan large networks for irregular access patterns. She fed it EtherJet's public site. Then she injected it with a tracking query for embedded server calls, those that filtered real-time passenger approval data. "Just one look," she whispered. But even she didn't expect what she would find. Camille had hesitated for 48 hours. The video she recorded at the EtherJet terminal was short, just under 3 minutes. No screaming, no profanity, just facts. 2 professional black women denied boarding without justification, surrounded by white passengers who passed through without issue. The clip ended with security standing inches from them, and Paige Whitman saying, "You don't fit the image of excellence." Camille trimmed the video slightly, not to hide anything, but to remove background chatter and faces of innocent bystanders. She uploaded it with a single caption: "We paid, we qualified, we were denied, hashtag flying while black." She tapped post. Within an hour, it had 10,000 views. By the time she and Sierra finished breakfast the next morning, it had surpassed 500,000. Comments flooded in, most supportive, some skeptical, and a few openly hostile. Then came the edits. A video account with a verified checkmark posted a reaction breakdown titled, "What Really Happened at EtherJet Terminal." It slowed down Camille's footage, added a sarcastic voiceover, and inserted phrases like "unverified passengers," "disruptive behavior," and "playing the race card." That video reached 2 million views in less than 24 hours. News outlets picked it up. Private jet policy controversy. Were Morgan sisters actually approved? Read one headline. Tech prodigy or PR stunt, read another. By the end of the day, Camille's inbox was a battlefield. Journalists requesting interviews, trolls sending threats, sponsors she hadn't heard from in months suddenly reviewing their partnerships. The worst was the broadcast on a major cable network. A panel discussion featuring a former EtherJet executive who claimed strict vetting policies are standard in elite services and suggested that perhaps the sisters misunderstood the process. They had gone from victims of discrimination to symbols of entitlement overnight. "I should have known," Camille said bitterly, scrolling through comment sections while Sierra paced behind her. "They flipped it," Sierra muttered. "They made it about us. Again." Camille nodded. "This is the algorithm at work. Controversy equals clicks, and discrediting us fits the narrative some people are desperate to believe." Then came the call. Blocked number. Camille usually ignored those, but something made her pick up. A man's voice, cautious, slightly rushed. "Camille Morgan?" "Yes. This is... well, we haven't spoken in years. I'm Devin Reese. We took data ethics at Caltech together." Camille blinked. "Devin? The guy who built that fake stock trading simulator for fun?" He chuckled nervously. "Yeah, that's me. Listen, I saw your video, and I work in media analytics now, corporate level. Some of my clients are tied to PR firms. One of them? They just onboarded EtherJet." Camille sat up straighter. "You're saying they've launched a campaign against us?" "I can't give you files, NDA stuff, but I can tell you what I know. There's an active effort to reframe the narrative, influence coverage. Push the idea that you were disruptive passengers, not victims." Camille's jaw clenched. "Using which outlets?" "Online influencers, newsroom tip emails, forum bots, comment flooding. They're rolling all of it out." "Why tell me this?" she asked, suspicious. "Because I've seen what this machine does, and I hate that I've been part of it. You deserve to know you're up against more than just one company. You're up against a playbook." She hung up, her mind racing. When she told Sierra, her sisters stared at the floor for a long time. "So what now?" "We counter-program," Camille said. "We get ahead of the smear." "By doing what?" "By being strategic, not loud." That night, Camille crafted a thread on X, formerly Twitter. It wasn't angry. It was precise. She outlined their payment history, posted screenshots of their email confirmation, linked to EtherJet's membership criteria. She explained, without hyperbole, what had happened, and ended it with, "Ask yourself, if two white executives with the same credentials were told they didn't fit the image of excellence, would the media ask if they qualified?" The post went viral. Again. But now, it wasn't just rage. It was debate. Think pieces emerged. Celebrities started weighing in. Academics dissected the language used in coverage. Camille watched the numbers climb, but her chest still felt tight. "I hate that we even have to prove we were worthy," she said, staring at the screen. Sierra sat beside her. "I know, but if we don't own the story, someone else will." Still, the damage was done. Their reputations weren't shattered, but they were under siege. Whisper campaigns began circling their industries. A biotech investor pulled out of a funding round for Sierra's project, citing concerns about optics. A cybersecurity publication removed Camille from a speaker lineup, pending internal review. That night, Camille scrolled through an email thread from an old startup accelerator she'd once rejected. A partner she barely remembered had written, "It was only a matter of time before someone questioned their legitimacy." She didn't cry. She didn't scream. But she did open a blank document and title it, "Documented Bias, Case Study, EtherJet Incident." She would collect everything, every media manipulation, every edited clip, every internal inconsistency in EtherJet's timeline. If they wanted a fight, she'd give them one built from data, not drama. But even as she worked, a seed of doubt had begun to grow, not in herself, but in the silence around her. Her father hadn't called, not once. Not since the video went viral. Not since her name became trending news. Marcus Morgan, who had taught them to fight quietly and strike surgically, had vanished. And Camille couldn't shake the feeling that he knew something she didn't. Camille always trusted code more than people. People lied. Code revealed. After the smear campaign hit full stride and Devon's warning confirmed their worst fears, Camille knew there was only one way to get ahead of the narrative. Not with opinions, not with viral posts, but with irrefutable evidence. She shut herself in their hotel suite, laptop open, dual monitors mirrored to her phone. Lines of code scrolled endlessly across the screen as she tunneled into EtherJet's public-facing systems. Not hacking, at least not yet. She was scanning for blind spots, unsecured API endpoints, weak encryption, metadata leaks. Every company had cracks, even the ones selling exclusivity. "Any luck?" Sierra asked, entering with 2 coffees. "Nothing I can use. Yet," Camille muttered. "But they're sloppy, arrogant, and I know the pattern." She was quiet for a moment, then leaned in. Back-end authentication for member verification is handled off-site. They use a third-party processing system. Sierra raised an eyebrow. "How do you know that?" Camille hesitated, then said, "Because I helped design one like it." "What?" Camille's fingers paused over her keyboard. She sighed, then swiveled toward her sister. 3 years ago, I worked on a contract project through Cypher Shield, consulting for a platform that wanted to build a secure, scalable member evaluation protocol. Facial data, behavioral flags, spending patterns, stuff for high-end services. I wrote part of the predictive model that filtered applicants based on activity and risk thresholds. Sierra's face shifted. "You mean, you built the system they're using?" "I don't know if it's the same one," Camille said. "But the architecture is familiar. Too familiar." A chill passed between them. She turned back to the screen and whispered, "If they're using it, I contributed to the machine that rejected us." She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she traced EtherJet's membership process from end to end. Using anonymized browser tools, she initiated a fake application, one with impeccable credentials, but a black-sounding name, Jamal Richardson. Within milliseconds, the system flagged it for extended verification. Then she tried William Spencer with identical data, immediate approval. She ran the test 20 more times with controlled variables. The results were consistent and damning. The algorithm disproportionately flagged applicants with traditionally African American names, certain zip codes, or non-Ivy League education backgrounds. The system was racist, and it was coded to look neutral. "This is how they hide it," Camille whispered, copying the JSON responses to her secure drive. "It's not a person making a call, it's the software, the math, the logic." She stared at the weights and filters embedded deep in the model. They were elegant, subtle, too subtle for someone outside tech to notice. But she knew the signature, knew the way the parameters were layered. Her parameters, buried under a new name, altered slightly, optimized for risk prediction. But the DNA of her work was there. It hit her like a punch to the chest. She hadn't just been rejected by a biased system. She'd helped build it. She pulled her hands away from the keyboard like they were suddenly contaminated. Her breath came shallow, eyes burning. Sierra, woken by the monitor's glow, rubbed her eyes. "Cam?" Camille didn't respond. "Hey," Sierra sat beside her. "What is it?" Camille turned slowly. Her voice was a whisper. "I saw it. The signature, the framework. It's mine, Sierra. They used my code, or something derived from it." Sierra frowned. "But you didn't write it to be discriminatory, right?" "No, but I didn't write it to prevent it either." She stood, pacing. "I thought I was just building something neutral, a smart filter. But I didn't question who would use it, or how." Sierra watched her sister unravel. "You can't blame yourself for their misuse." "I can," Camille snapped, then softened. "Because I know better. I always knew. Data reflects bias if you let it, And I let it. I didn't check the training sets. I didn't ask who'd be impacted. I just delivered the solution." She leaned on the window, watching the city pulse below. And now, it's rejecting people like us. Quietly, automatically, without anyone even noticing. The weight of it crushed her. Not just the discrimination, but her hand in building the very gatekeeping tool now being used to keep them out. "What are you going to do?" Sierra asked gently. Camille turned, a new fire in her eyes. "I'm going to expose it, publicly, with proof." She pulled out her external drive and began compiling the evidence. JSON logs, screenshots, timestamps, name-based testing comparisons, all labeled, cross-referenced, and airtight. She built a timeline of the code's origin, tracked how it had been licensed, possibly rebranded, and sold to companies like EtherJet. Her plan wasn't just to show they'd been wronged, it was to prove the how. By the time the sun rose, Camille had assembled a document titled "Discrimination by Design: How AI Enables Quiet Exclusion." It didn't just tell their story, it told everyone's story. Anyone who'd ever been denied without explanation, flagged without cause, overlooked without a voice. But deep down, Camille knew the hardest part was still ahead, because exposing a system meant burning bridges, and some of those bridges were hers. The email arrived at 6:17 a.m. Subject line: Private Dialogue Proposal. From the office of Richard Langston. Camille stared at it for a full minute before opening it. The language was meticulously crafted, sterile, almost polite. The CEO of EtherJet was requesting a private meeting to discuss potential avenues for resolution in light of recent events. No mention of apologies, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, just the illusion of civility dressed in corporate diplomacy. She closed her laptop and looked over at Sierra, who was nursing a mug of tea, eyes still heavy with sleep. "They want to meet," Camille said. "Langston himself." Sierra blinked. "Seriously?" "Yeah. Wants to talk options. Off the record." "Damage control," Sierra muttered. Camille nodded. "He knows the story's spreading faster than they can spin it, and he knows I've got proof." She didn't mention the other part. The guilt still settling in her stomach after realizing her own code had been co-opted into a discriminatory system. That wasn't something she was ready to speak aloud again. Not yet. Later that afternoon, they arrived at the Wexford Hotel. Neutral ground. It was a place where executives came to hide behind tinted glass and concierge smiles. Camille wore a black blazer, minimal makeup, and her hair pulled into a tight bun. Sierra, ever more expressive, wore soft curls and a dark green dress, her lips pressed into a careful line. A woman in a gray pantsuit met them in the lobby. "Mr. Langston is expecting you. This way." They were led through a back corridor to a private meeting room, where Richard Langston stood waiting. He was taller than expected, with perfectly combed silver hair, a pressed navy suit, and an expensive watch that gleamed like a threat. His smile was firm, rehearsed. "Ms. Morgan, Dr. Morgan," he greeted them. "Thank you for coming." Camille returned a tight nod. "You wanted to talk." Langston gestured to the table. "Please, sit." They didn't. He sighed lightly and continued anyway. "Let me be clear. What happened at our terminal was unfortunate, and it's become a matter of public scrutiny that, frankly, doesn't reflect who we are as a company. EtherJet values all clients." Camille folded her arms. "Just not ones who look like us." He held her gaze. "This situation has escalated rapidly. We've seen calls for boycotts, media coverage with less than balanced narratives, and, of course, the social media firestorm." Sierra bristled. "You're saying the coverage is the problem, not the behavior?" Langston raised his palms. "Perception becomes reality, which is why we're prepared to offer a resolution that benefits everyone." He reached into a leather folder and slid a document across the table. "EtherJet would like to extend a public gesture of goodwill. Lifetime premier membership for both of you, valued at over $300,000. A monetary settlement, $100,000 each. And if you're open to it, a feature in our next campaign on diversity and executive travel. Camille stared at the paper, then at him. And what do you want in return? A joint statement, Langston said smoothly, clarifying that this was a misunderstanding, not an act of discrimination, that all parties have come to a mutual understanding and wish to move forward. Sierra looked down at the table. Camille didn't. She pulled out her phone and placed it, screen down, on the table. Langston's eyes flicked to it. Is that recording? Of course not, Camille lied, expression unreadable. Just habits from the cybersecurity world. He chuckled nervously. We don't need to make this adversarial, he continued. You're both intelligent, successful women. This controversy risks defining your careers by outrage instead of achievement. We're offering protection, influence, access. Camille stepped forward, her voice low and sharp. Access to what? A world built on exclusion? Now suddenly afraid we might change the locks? Langston's jaw tightened. You're smart, Camille. You know how these things work. Public narratives have a shelf life. Take the win, don't let it become a war. Before Camille could respond, Sierra spoke. Can we have a moment? Langston raised a brow. Of course. He stepped out, closing the door behind him. Camille turned to her sister. Don't say it. Sierra didn't blink. Cam, we have to consider it. Camille's voice rose. No, we don't. Cam, we are not letting him buy our silence. That's blood money. Sierra's eyes burned. You think I don't know that? But you don't understand what's at stake for me. Camille frowned. What are you talking about? My research grant. The board suspended it yesterday. Quietly. Said they're reevaluating based on reputational risk. If I lose that funding, years of work vanish. Camille stared. So you're willing to sell our truth for a lab and a few microscopes? It's not about me, Sierra snapped. It's about patients, families, a treatment that could save lives. I can't do that work if we become radioactive to every institution that's afraid of controversy. Camille's expression cracked, pain flashing beneath the surface. And what about the people who will keep getting shut out of places like EtherJet because we stayed quiet? Sierra lowered her eyes. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Camille said, I'm going to finish what I started. You can do what you need to, but I won't be bought. Sierra swallowed hard, then nodded. Then we fight. Langston re-entered moments later, expecting answers. He didn't get the one he wanted. Marcus Morgan rarely called. He believed in texting, efficient, clean, controlled. So when Camille's phone rang with his name flashing across the screen, she felt a shiver even before answering. Dad? His voice was low, not cold, but cautious. Where are you? Still in San Francisco. A pause. Good, he said. I'm flying in tonight. We need to talk, in person. About what? About all of it. They met the next evening in a private lounge of the Langham Hotel. Camille had been expecting a lecture. Sierra expected silence. But what they got was something far stranger. Marcus arrived in a charcoal suit, crisp shirt, and leather shoes polished to a reflective sheen. His silver beard was neatly trimmed, and his eyes, though calm, carried something new: hesitation. He sat down without ceremony. I've been watching everything, he said. The video, the press, the smear campaign. Camille folded her arms. You've been watching and saying nothing. I was assessing, Marcus replied. Assessing what? Sierra cut in. Whether your daughter's being humiliated in public was bad enough to warrant comment? His jaw tightened. Whether it was time. Camille narrowed her eyes. Time for what? Marcus exhaled. I'm going to ask you both to listen, not argue, not interrupt, just listen. They exchanged glances, but nodded. He began. 30 years ago, before either of you were born, I worked in brand equity consulting, not for ad agencies, real clients, private firms, financial groups, tech startups looking for image curation. One of those clients was a small luxury flight club out of Arizona. Back then, it was nothing more than a few jets and a big idea: exclusivity in the skies. Camille felt the breath catch in her throat. Etherjet? She asked. Marcus nodded slowly. It wasn't called that yet. But yes, I helped them define their target clientele, drafted internal criteria, market analysis, visual consistency standards. I wasn't alone, just one of many advisors. But I wrote the first framework they built on. Sierra looked stunned. You helped design the thing that rejected us? His voice dropped. I didn't design it to exclude people like you. I designed it to attract investors. We studied luxury brands, psychological perception, status cues. I never said no black people, but the system interpreted prestige a certain way. And that interpretation stuck. Camille's chest tightened. You knew? I suspected, he admitted. Over the years, I saw the patterns. Who got approved, who didn't. But I told myself it was algorithmic drift, not malice. Then I stepped back when your mother got sick, and later, when she was gone, I poured everything into raising you two, into shielding you. By staying silent? Sierra asked, eyes watery. By ensuring the world saw you as strong before they saw you as vulnerable, Marcus said. I taught you to stand tall because I knew one day the system would try to make you kneel, and I wanted you to have the tools to resist it. Camille's hands curled into fists. You didn't just work with them. You created the culture they weaponized against us. And now you want us to stop? He looked at her carefully. Yes? No, she said, voice shaking with anger. You're not ready, Marcus said. This fight, what you're triggering, is bigger than you think. They won't just come for your reputations, they'll come for your careers, your safety, your future, and they'll do it legally, cleanly, publicly. We're already in it, Sierra said, barely above a whisper. You can still walk away, he insisted. Settle, take the offer, rebuild quietly. Let this be a lesson, not a legacy. Camille leaned forward, her tone icy. Let me ask you something. When you built that system, did you ever imagine your daughters would be the ones it tried to erase? He didn't answer. I can't believe you, she said. You taught us to fight, to be excellent, but the moment we fight back, you tell us to fold. Because I know what they'll do to you. No, Dad, she said. You know what they did to you, and you're still afraid. Silence. Then he whispered, maybe. Sierra watched her father's face. She saw something unraveling behind his eyes, not fear, not regret, but exhaustion. A lifetime of compromise weighing him down. You're not a villain, she said, but you're not innocent either. He nodded slowly. Camille rose. We're not backing down. And if that means we lose contracts, reputation, funding, so be it. We're not asking the system to like us. We're demanding it recognize us. Marcus looked up at her, his expression unreadable. And if you burn everything down? He asked. What comes after? Camille's voice was steel. We rebuild, with better blueprints. Later that night, alone in their suite, Sierra sat on the balcony while Camille compiled another wave of evidence for public release. Do you think he meant well? Sierra asked. Camille didn't look up. I think he meant to survive. They sat in silence for a while. Sierra turned to her sister. He's not the man I thought he was. Camille paused, then said, Neither are we. Camille had never believed in coincidence. Patterns, yes. Data, absolutely. But not random alignment. So when she cross-referenced EtherJet's corporate registry out of curiosity and discovered that a shell company called MGM Trust Holdings owned the largest block of private shares, her instincts screamed louder than her logic. MGM. 3 letters that meant nothing on their own, until she remembered her father's initials, Marcus Gideon Morgan. She froze. EtherJet's largest silent investor, according to public filings, was MGM Trust, holding 48% equity, just under the threshold of majority control. The entity was based in Delaware, with no named individuals listed. A classic anonymous holding structure. Clean, legal, invisible. But to Camille, it was like seeing her father's signature written in code. She stared at the screen for a long time, Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened her secure tracing software. If it was a coincidence, the data would say so. If not, she dug deeper. Layer by layer, she peeled back the corporate veil. MGM Trust was tied to 3 additional shell companies. One of them, Grayson Equity, had listed a director 5 years ago under a false name, Jonathan D. G. Marks. Another coincidence? Or an anagram? Camille rearranged the letters. Marcus Gideon Morgan. Her breath caught. This wasn't theory anymore. Her father didn't just advise EtherJet in the past. He owned it, or nearly half of it. She copied the documents, screenshotted the links, created a secure folder titled Hidden Stake, Confirmed. Then she closed the laptop and just sat there, silent, still, betrayed. When Sierra walked in an hour later, Camille didn't even look up. "Something's wrong," Sierra said instantly. Camille turned the laptop toward her sister. "You tell me." Sierra scanned the files. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "It's him," Camille said quietly. "All this time. He's not just complicit in the culture EtherJet built, he's been profiting from it, directly." Sierra dropped into the chair beside her. "He said he stepped away. He lied. Maybe it was legacy investment," Sierra offered weakly. "Maybe he doesn't have day-to-day control." "He owns 48%, Sierra. That's not passive, that's strategic silence." The room pulsed with disbelief. Camille rubbed her forehead. "He told us to walk away, to take the deal, to stay quiet, all while sitting at the top of the empire that humiliated us." Sierra whispered. "He was trying to protect his stake." Camille stood up, pacing. "No, he was trying to protect his illusion, that he built something powerful without becoming corrupt. But the truth? He built a cage, then made sure we never saw the bars." They confronted him the next morning. Marcus was in the hotel library lounge, reading the Wall Street Journal as if nothing had changed. When Camille dropped the manila folder in front of him, he didn't even flinch. "I expected it would take you longer," he said, without looking up. "You're not going to deny it?" Camille asked. "No." "You own EtherJet," Sierra said, her voice shaking. 48%. "Yes." "For how long?" Camille demanded. "Since before it rebranded," Marcus replied. "Back when it was still Sky Vista Private Travel. I provided the seed capital, used intermediaries, layers, shells. No one ever knew." "Why?" Camille asked. "Why hide it?" He finally looked up. "Because real power doesn't need recognition. It needs leverage, and silence gave me both." Camille's jaw clenched. "You let us fight a system you control." "I never controlled the culture," Marcus said. "I controlled capital. There's a difference." "No," Sierra whispered. "There isn't." He leaned back. "You think the board listens to investors who speak out? No, they listen to revenue, not righteousness. I kept my voice quiet so I could move undetected. Pull levers when needed. Remove threats discreetly. You think public speeches bring change? I've seen how that ends. Real influence is quiet." "You mean real cowardice?" Camille snapped. Marcus's expression didn't change. "I built the wall," he said. "But I thought I could give you the tools to climb it. I didn't expect you to burn it down." Camille's eyes burned. "We didn't expect you to be standing behind it." Silence. Then Sierra asked, "So now what? You sit back and watch, or you help?" Marcus folded his paper. "Help how?" "Start talking," Camille said. "Who else is complicit? How deep does this go? What have you signed? What can we use?" He paused, thought, then said, "Meet me at my office tonight. No one else. I'll show you everything." Camille narrowed her eyes. "Why now?" "Because for the first time in my life," he said softly, "my silence isn't protecting anyone I care about. It's hurting them." That night, as they prepared to leave, Camille zipped the folder shut and looked at her sister. "He's right about one thing," she said. Sierra raised an eyebrow. "Silence is powerful." Camille shouldered her bag. "But so is truth." The elevator doors opened to reveal a world neither Camille nor Sierra had ever seen. It wasn't the opulence of Marcus Morgan's private office on the 47th floor of the Bancroft Tower that shocked them. It was the implication. Leather-paneled walls, a curated collection of first-edition books, framed photos with former presidents and CEOs of companies they'd only read about in Forbes. This wasn't just an office. It was a command center, and their father, Marcus Morgan, wasn't just a wealthy man. He was infrastructure. "Welcome," Marcus said, standing behind a desk larger than their college dorm rooms. "Now you understand why I've always said power doesn't wear a name tag." Camille stepped inside, her jaw tight. "So this is where the silence lives." Sierra followed, slower, taking it all in with a strange mix of awe and resentment. Marcus motioned to a glass table already set with folders, USB drives, and a secure laptop. "Everything you need. Internal memos, executive conversations, investor breakdowns. The system you're fighting, it's in here." Camille didn't sit. "And what exactly do you expect us to do with it?" "Use it," he said. "If that's what you still want." Camille narrowed her eyes. "Still? You're assuming I'll hesitate." "I'm hoping," Marcus said, "because you're about to ignite something you can't control. Once this goes public, it's war, media retaliation, legal countersuits, and worst of all, the personal toll. Your mother's name, your education history, that MIT breach you thought no one found out about?" Camille froze. Marcus's voice dropped. "You think I didn't know?" She swallowed hard, remembering that long night years ago. The breach that never went public. The quiet rejection letter. She'd thought it was over. "It's buried," she said. "For now," Marcus replied. "But when enemies are desperate, they dig. They'll weaponize anything." Sierra stepped forward. "So what are you saying? That we should just walk away? Again?" "I'm saying be strategic. There are ways to dismantle a machine without setting yourself on fire inside it." Camille snapped. "You've had 30 years to dismantle it from the inside. What did you do?" Marcus's jaw tensed. "I survived." "No," she said, stepping closer. "You prospered. You collected dividends while the system you designed kept people like us on the tarmac." He looked at her with a father's pain. "Son, will you destroy the whole family fortune out of pride?" She laughed, cold and hollow. "It's not pride, Dad. It's clarity." She turned to Sierra. "Let's go. We don't need more data. We need action." But Sierra didn't move. Camille turned back. "Sierra?" Her sister stared at Marcus, then at the folders on the table. Her voice was quiet, but firm. "I'm staying." Camille blinked. "What?" Sierra lifted her chin. "You're right. We need action, but not blind retaliation. Not a nuclear blast. We need precision, and to do that, we need this." Camille's face hardened. "You think he's suddenly on our side?" "I think," Sierra said, "he's finally telling the truth, and that matters." Marcus watched the two of them with a mix of pride and pain. "I'm not trying to stop you," he said. "I just want you to know the cost." Camille looked between them, her father, the architect of the injustice they'd suffered, and her sister, once the idealist, now rooted in something new: resolve. "You lead this then," Camille said to Sierra. "But I'm not doing it halfway. When I speak, it will be public, raw, and non-negotiable." Sierra nodded. "Then you be the voice. I'll be the data." Camille turned back to Marcus. "You taught us that silence was survival, but you forgot to teach us one thing." He waited. She stepped to the door. "When to stop surviving and start changing." That night, Sierra stayed behind. She combed through every file, every encrypted message, every code Marcus had kept hidden for decades. She didn't flinch, didn't cry, didn't pause. When Marcus brought her coffee at 2:00 a.m., she looked up and said, "This isn't redemption." "I know," he replied. "You're not giving me this because you believe in justice. You're giving it to me because you're afraid of losing your legacy." Marcus didn't deny it. Sierra smiled, bitter and brilliant. "Good. That means it's finally worth something." The next morning, Camille held a press conference. No networks, No big stage, just a smartphone, a clear voice, and a simple message. We've seen what silence protects. Now let's see what truth can destroy. Behind the scenes, Sierra began organizing the data for public release. She mapped it with infographics. She partnered with watchdog organizations. She prepared legal filings. And when media outlets tried to spin, she drowned them in documentation. The sisters were no longer just victims. They were architects of exposure. And it all started with the man who once believed control was earned by staying in the shadows. But Marcus Morgan had forgotten one thing. Shadow only exists where there is light. And his daughters were finally stepping into it. The lights were blinding. Sierra sat perfectly still in the chair across from the talk show host, a soft lavender backdrop glowing behind her. She wore a charcoal blazer, natural curls pulled back, and a steady calmness that belied the adrenaline pounding in her chest. The host, Mara King, leaned in slightly, voice velvet smooth. Dr. Morgan, you and your sister have become national figures after what happened at EtherJet. Many call this the beginning of a corporate reckoning. Why go public now? On television. Sierra didn't blink. Because the truth doesn't live in boardrooms. It lives where people can see it. And right now, too many people are being silently excluded by systems they never knew were judging them. Mara nodded. You've brought data today? Sierra reached into her folder and pulled out a slim binder. This contains proof that EtherJet's membership verification algorithm disproportionately flags black applicants. I've tested it with identical profiles. Only the names changed. The results speak for themselves. She opened the binder on air. Applicants with names like Jamal or Latasha were sent to secondary verification 72% of the time, while those with names like William or Claire were approved in seconds. Gasps rippled through the studio audience. And the company behind this software? Mara prompted. Sierra didn't hesitate. OmniVault Analytics, a firm specializing in behavior-based risk modeling. They license their software to elite service providers like EtherJet. Their algorithm was built to reinforce a specific brand image, a euphemism for exclusion. She turned to the camera. I'm not speculating. I've reverse engineered the model. I've reviewed the training data. I know the weights assigned to zip codes, to college names, to employer history, and it's not neutral, it's targeted. Mara let the moment settle before continuing, and yet EtherJet insists this is just protocol. Sierra nodded. Protocol can be discriminatory when it's designed without accountability. This wasn't a glitch, it was a choice. That line lit up social media before the segment even ended. Within an hour, the hashtag #ProtocolIsPrejudice was trending globally. Clips of Sierra's appearance were shared by civil rights groups, tech watchdogs, and public figures. Screenshots of the algorithm data leaked onto Reddit. Forums exploded with commentary. Even a few conservative anchors reluctantly admitted the numbers were disturbing. It was working. The tide was turning. Until it wasn't. The backlash came fast. That evening, an anonymous account on X dropped a video clip with the caption, "So much for ethics." Camille Morgan caught hacking MIT systems as a student. The video was grainy, security footage from years ago, showing a young Camille in a computer lab after hours, fingers flying over a keyboard. The accompanying voiceover painted it as a deliberate breach of academic integrity. Within minutes, bots flooded the comments. Can't trust criminals. She's just mad she got caught. This was always about clout. The smear machine was back, with new ammunition, and it hit hard. By morning, major news outlets picked up the story. Some framed it as a developing controversy. Others went further, questioning whether Camille's past undermined their entire crusade. Sierra stared at her phone, horrified. Camille stood in the doorway, arms crossed, jaw locked. "You knew it could resurface," Sierra said. Camille nodded. "I didn't think it'd matter. Not now. Not after everything. They're using it to delegitimize the whole movement." Camille didn't respond. She just walked to the couch and collapsed into the cushions, exhaustion lining every feature. "They'll say I broke the rules, so nothing I say now can be trusted," she murmured. Sierra sat beside her. "We have to respond." Camille shook her head. "If we do, we validate it. If we stay silent, we look guilty. Either way, they twist it." Sierra opened her laptop, heart racing. "Then we do both." Camille raised an eyebrow. "You stay quiet," Sierra said, "but I'll go louder." That afternoon, Sierra posted a video. It wasn't polished, no set, no lights. Just her, sitting on the floor of their hotel room, laptop in her lap. "I want to talk about what's happening right now," she began. "Yes, my sister made a mistake years ago. A mistake that hurt no one, changed no grades, and was never public because it didn't need to be." She leaned closer to the lens. "But let me tell you what she did do. She built one of the most secure data encryption firms in the country. She's protected hospitals, schools, nonprofits from cyber attacks. She used her skills to protect people." Pause. "Meanwhile, the same people attacking her now? They've built systems that exclude people like us and called it branding. They've silenced dissent and called it policy. Camille didn't build something to keep people out. They did." Sierra's voice cracked slightly. "She's not the problem. She's the threat to the problem." The video racked up 1.2 million views in the first 3 hours. But more importantly, it reclaimed the narrative. Later that night, Sierra sat alone on the balcony, watching comments scroll across her screen. "I wasn't sure before. I am now. This feels like truth fighting for oxygen. I've worked in AI modeling. She's not wrong." The tide was shifting again. Sierra closed her eyes. The war wasn't won, but the message was clear. The system knew it was bleeding, and it was terrified of the scalpel in their hands. Camille had been preparing for the keynote speech at the West Coast Tech Summit for months. Her topic, algorithmic integrity and the ethics of AI filtering, was timely, urgent, and aligned with everything she and Sierra had exposed. The organizers had invited her personally, praising her courage and innovation. But 48 hours before the event, she received the call. A tight-voiced assistant from the summit's planning committee said they were restructuring the lineup, and that, regrettably, Camille's session would be postponed indefinitely. She didn't ask why. She already knew. The backlash from the resurfaced MIT video was still echoing through boardrooms. Sponsors were nervous. Some execs had threatened to pull out entirely if the controversy was allowed a platform. But what Camille hadn't anticipated was who made the final push. She found out through a forwarded email. One of Sierra's contacts on the summit team, a junior coordinator who believed in the cause, had leaked the internal memo. Camille read it 3 times, her eyes narrowing with every line. The subject, recommendation, temporary removal, C. Morgan. The sender, M. Morgan, DW Holdings, her father. He had pulled the strings behind the curtain to protect the stock, to protect the brand, to silence his daughter. Camille sat in the hotel lobby, the printed email shaking slightly in her hand. The walls seemed to pulse around her, the soft jazz music from the speakers suddenly too loud, too smooth. When Sierra arrived, Camille didn't say anything. She just handed her the page. Sierra read it, then looked up, horror blooming across her face. He did this?" Camille nodded. "Behind my back, after everything." Sierra sat down beside her. "He's afraid. Afraid of exposure," Camille said. "Afraid the market will turn on him the way the world is starting to." Sierra was quiet for a long time. "What are you going to do?" Camille didn't answer immediately. Then, with chilling calm, she said, "End it." That evening, Camille scheduled a live stream across all major platforms. No press releases, no PR firm, no edits. Just her, sitting at her desk, laptop camera on, eyes steady. "I was invited to speak at the West Coast Tech Summit this week. That invitation has been revoked. Not because I lied, not because I failed, but because someone with power decided my presence was bad for business." Pause. That someone is my father. She let the silence stretch. Marcus Morgan is not just my parent. He is also the principal owner of DW Holdings, the entity that holds nearly half of EtherJet's shares. He has profited from its silence. He has protected its image at the expense of accountability. And this week, he personally requested that I be removed from a public forum because the truth I might share could hurt the portfolio he manages. She held up a folder. This is the proof. Ownership certificates, board correspondence, meeting transcripts, all authenticated, all verifiable. She opened the folder, letting the camera capture page after page of evidence. I'm not sharing this out of vengeance. I'm sharing it because systemic problems don't stay fixed if their architects remain in power. You can't reform a culture that refuses to admit its rot, and you can't call yourself an ally to justice while silencing the voices that threaten your investments. Her voice never cracked, not once. But maybe, she continued, we needed to be betrayed by someone inside the house to realize just how deep the rot goes. She ended the stream without flair. No outro, no slogan, just silence. The internet erupted. Within hours, #Marcus Morgan trended worldwide. News outlets scrambled to verify the documents Camille released. Independent analysts confirmed her claims. Business reporters questioned the ethics of an investor silencing his own daughter for speaking truth to power. The board at DW Holdings issued a terse statement. We are reviewing recent disclosures and evaluating potential conflicts of interest among leadership. The fallout was instant. EtherJet's stock dipped 9% in pre-market trading. Civil rights organizations called for Marcus's resignation. One of the firm's largest institutional investors pulled out. And behind closed doors, Marcus Morgan's fortress began to crack. Sierra found him in his office the next day. He looked older, tired, the weight of decades pressing down on his shoulders. You could have talked to her, Sierra said softly. I was trying to protect her, he murmured. No, she replied. You were trying to protect you. He didn't argue. She still loves you, Sierra added. But she doesn't trust you anymore, and I'm not sure I do either. Marcus turned to the window. Everything I built, it was supposed to insulate you. Make sure no one could touch you. Sierra shook her head. You built a wall and called it love. Silence. Then, quietly, he said, I never wanted this. But you allowed it, Sierra replied. And then she left. Camille didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just got back to work. The house of cards was falling. And now, finally, no one could stop it. Especially not the man who built it. The boardroom was cold. Not in temperature, but in atmosphere. The kind of sterile tension only money, fear, and power could generate. 12 members of EtherJet's board sat around the sleek glass table, faces carved from stone, expressions unreadable. 2 security guards stood by the doors. A paralegal from DW Holdings sat in the corner, fingers poised over a laptop. The room smelled faintly of leather, espresso, and dread. And then, Camille and Sierra Morgan entered. They didn't wear armor, no legal team, no PR handler, no theatrics, just purpose. Camille in black, Sierra in navy, both silent. Until Camille broke it. Let the record show, she said clearly, that we are here by shareholder right. She placed a thick binder at the center of the table. This contains evidence of systemic discrimination embedded in EtherJet's membership policies, powered by a licensing deal with OmniVault Analytics. These practices were knowingly maintained and protected by current executive leadership. Several heads turned toward Richard Langston, the CEO, who sat at the far end of the table, jaw tight. Sierra stepped forward. We have proof of internal memos, language instructing staff to enforce image consistency without documenting denials. We have algorithmic breakdowns, name bias testing, even surveillance footage of verbal discrimination at your terminals. Camille added. We also have testimony from 5 former employees, including one senior operations manager who confirmed that the culture of selective gatekeeping was strategic, not accidental. One board member cleared his throat. "Ladies, this is highly irregular." "No," Camille interrupted. "What's irregular is how long this company has profited off exclusion while pretending its doors were open to all." Another board member leaned forward. "And what do you expect us to do with this?" "Vote," Sierra said, her voice quiet but resolute. "On leadership, on culture, on whether this board will continue defending a system that's now been exposed to the world." Murmurs spread around the table. Richard finally spoke, voice sharp. "This is grandstanding, an emotional stunt. The data is incomplete, the sources unverified. This company has weathered worse PR storms." Camille's eyes didn't leave his. "And it's about to learn what happens when the storm has proof." She placed a flash drive on the table. "This contains the internal shareholder memo signed by Mr. Marcus Morgan recommending my removal from the West Coast Tech Summit for reputation protection. It also includes his equity position and the silence it has bought for 20 years. The room went still. Every gaze turned toward Marcus, who had remained quiet until now. Finally, he stood. "I won't defend my silence," he said. Camille glanced away. "But I'll correct it." He reached into his coat and withdrew a letter. "This is my resignation from the board, effective immediately, and my recommendation for full executive review of all leadership decisions over the last 5 fiscal years." Gasps. Richard stood abruptly. "You're handing the company to chaos." "No," Marcus replied. "I'm handing it back to truth." He looked at Camille and Sierra, eyes tired. They have the data. They have the documentation. But most importantly, they have the clarity I lost chasing control. Camille didn't speak. Neither did Sierra. It was enough. The vote was swift. 7 in favor, 4 against, 1 abstained. Richard Langston was removed as CEO. His inner circle, the executives who had enforced the verification practices, who had lobbied to bury the algorithmic data, were placed on administrative leave pending investigation. A task force was commissioned, one led by external civil rights and AI ethics experts, to audit every policy, every contract, every line of code. And then, in an even more shocking move, the board appointed a temporary leadership transition committee. At the head, Camille Morgan. The press conference happened that same evening. Dozens of cameras lined the walls. Reporters elbowed for space. The internet was already abuzz with rumors. Camille stepped up to the podium, Sierra at her side. "This isn't just about one company," she said. "It's about how systems weaponize silence, how brands use language like exclusivity and curated experience to filter people out while pretending to be open." She continued, "We're not canceling EtherJet. We're redesigning it, with transparency, with integrity, with people who believe that access isn't a privilege, it's a right." When asked about their father, Camille was brief. "Marcus Morgan stepped down today. That was his choice. We respect it, but we're moving forward, without shadows." Sierra added, "Redemption doesn't start with a press release. It starts with accountability, and that begins now." That night, back in their suite, Camille stared out the window. The skyline glittered below, Los Angeles basking in its usual neon glow. Sierra joined her with 2 mugs of tea. "You okay?" she asked. Camille took the mug. "No," Sierra smiled. "Me neither." They sipped in silence. Then Camille said, "Do you think he meant it? The resignation?" Sierra thought for a moment. "I think he meant to survive. But maybe, just maybe, he's learning how to do it differently." Camille didn't reply. She didn't need to. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. But tonight they'd earned the silence. Not as a weapon, but as peace. 1 month later, Camille stood behind a podium with the EtherJet logo glowing behind her. But this time it wasn't a backdrop for exclusion. It was a banner of transformation. The room was packed. Cameras clicked like fireworks. Executives, activists, journalists, industry leaders. They had all come to witness what many called the most consequential pivot in the history of luxury aviation. Camille looked different, not because of the tailored navy blue suit or the flawless press kit smile, but because of what stood behind her now. Not shadows, but systems restructured by truth. As she approached the microphone, the room hushed. "My name is Camille Morgan," she began, "and as of this morning, I am officially the Chief Executive Officer of EtherJet." Applause thundered across the room, not just for her title, but for what it meant. She was the first black woman to ever hold the CEO position of a private jet airline in the United States. The first person of color to rise to that level in a sector long shielded by coded terms like elite, curated clientele, and brand integrity. But more than that, she was no longer someone the system merely tolerated. She was someone who had forced it to look in the mirror and change. "I stand here not as someone who was given an opportunity," she continued, "but as someone who created accountability. This isn't a story of charity or redemption. This is a story of correction." She paused, letting the silence sit. "EtherJet is no longer a fortress for the few. It is a platform for those ready to lead, with transparency, with ethics, and with courage." Behind her, the company's new mission statement flashed on screen: excellence with equity. Later that day, Sierra took the stage at a separate press event to announce the official launch of the Visibility Fund, a $100 million initiative aimed at supporting underrepresented communities in aviation, technology, and research. She wore a deep emerald blazer and spoke with the calm authority of a surgeon, but her words cut deeper than any scalpel. "For too long," she said, "we've treated opportunity as a lottery, as something you're lucky to get. But luck isn't policy, it isn't justice, and it certainly isn't a system." The Visibility Fund would provide grants, mentorships, and internship pipelines specifically for students of color, first-generation college attendees, and women in tech and science. Its first round of recipients, 30 young people from across the country, sat in the front row, many visibly emotional. "They're not future leaders," Sierra said. "They're current ones. They just needed access. And now, they'll have it." The crowd stood in ovation, not because they were inspired, but because they were challenged. Camille's first week as CEO wasn't symbolic. It was surgical. She terminated every silent policy linked to image standards. She implemented full transparency protocols in the membership vetting process, including third-party audits. She replaced over 40% of the executive team with diverse, qualified leaders from across industries. She terminated the contract with OmniVault Analytics and commissioned a new AI evaluation system built from scratch, this time designed by an open-source coalition of ethicists, technologists, and civil rights scholars. The press praised her. Then they tested her. Was this sustainable, or just a media moment? Camille had her answer ready every time. "We're not here to be exceptional. We're here to be structural." But even victories come with scars. Marcus Morgan had gone quiet since his resignation. His empire remained intact, but his presence had faded. No interviews, no statements, just silence. This time not weaponized, but perhaps surrendered. Camille hadn't spoken to him since the board meeting, not out of anger, out of necessity. You can't rebuild while still breathing the dust of what collapsed. Sierra, however, had spoken to him once, briefly. A phone call. No apologies, but an acknowledgement. "I'm proud of what you're building," he had said. Sierra didn't know if that made it easier or harder. The sisters stood together at the newly unveiled EtherJet Innovation Hub, an internal space for research, ethics oversight, and inclusive design. Journalists kept asking the same question in different forms. How does it feel to win? Camille finally answered. "This wasn't a win," she said. "Winning suggests a contest. This was a reckoning, and reckonings don't end with trophies. They end with truth." Sierra added, We didn't get here because we were brave. We got here because we were cornered, and we decided to fight out of it instead of folding. On the final night of launch week, they sat on the balcony of their shared apartment in downtown LA. It was quiet, warm, a breeze cutting through the noise of the day. Sierra passed Camille a glass of wine. "Remember when we thought just getting invited into the room would be enough?" Camille smirked. "I used to think proximity to power meant safety. And now? Now I know power's only worth something if it's uncomfortable." Sierra clinked her glass against hers. "To discomfort, then." Camille raised hers. "To the end of being lucky." They drank in silence. Then Camille turned to her sister, voice soft. "You led the final push. You chose the quiet route when I was ready to set it all on fire." Sierra smiled. "And you set just enough of it on fire to make them look." They laughed, the kind of laugh that comes after exhaustion, after grief, after justice. And somewhere, deep in the distance, a plane took off, its lights cutting through the darkness, just as they had. Not because someone opened the door for them, but because they learned how to take the entire structure apart and rebuild it, brick by brick, in public, in truth, without ever asking permission again.